Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Only on WRAL, a man caught on camera shooting at police. Today, his father tells WRAL what he thinks led to the confrontation.
And our tracking our next weather maker, and that's a cold front that comes in on Thursday. It may bring us severe storms. It's already a weather alert day for Thursday. I'll explain.
And proposed THC ban. Lawmakers discuss restrictions on certain products, and it's not just limited to age. A lot of new developments that we're following for you here on this Tuesday. Good afternoon. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Jeff Hogan. A Wake County man caught on camera firing shots at police is due in court today. This all played out in Rollsville, not far from the elementary and middle schools there. Luckily, no one was injured. But in a conversation you'll see only on WRAL, Gabriel Walker's father talks with Destiny Patterson, saying that this all could have been prevented very easily. Destiny?
Jeff, that's right. I spoke to his father this morning. He reached out to us ahead of his son's court appearance, and his father says that Gabriel Walker has struggled with mental illness for a few years now. He says that he struggles with depression and that he may be abusing drugs like marijuana. Roseville police say that Gabriel Walker shot at officers while taking them on a brief chase yesterday. And it started as a trespassing call that quickly escalated. Luckily, no one was hurt in all of this, but Casey Walker commends law enforcement for being able to respond to that incident without using deadly force on his son. He says that he's tried to get his son some help in at least 2 states for years.
We've gone to probate court here in South Carolina to get him help. And each time when he was released on his own recognizance, and even the times that we did manage to get him to a facility or to a hospital, they released him in a very short period of time.
Walker now faces several charges related to yesterday's incident, including attempted first-degree murder and assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill. Walker is expected to be here today at 1:30 for his first court appearance. Destiny Patterson, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
A sweeping new bill in the state Senate could keep intoxicating hemp products out of the hands of kids. It would ban the sale of consumable THC items to anyone under the age of 21. WRAL Capitol Bureau Chief Laura Leslie is live at the state legislative building where that bill was discussed earlier today. Laura.
Renee, it would also make products like Delta 9 substances like this one, decide how much of the substance these items can contain. And manufacturers would have to test these products for the amount of intoxicating substance, and retailers that want to sell them would have to have a license. The bill would make products like Delta 9 gummies, drinks, and vapes available only to people 21 and over. It would ban them completely from school property. It would also ban synthetic hemp. It would also regulate how these products can be packaged to avoid making them attractive to kids. And it would make kratom a controlled substance. Senator Amy Galey says these substances are unregulated and untested, and kids are getting hooked on them without even really knowing what they're consuming.
These dangerous substances that are available at the counter at the gas station, and ultimately people are making a fortune off of it in this state and across the country. And I think it's time that North Carolina puts a stop to it.
The proposal would put ALE in charge of enforcing the law, kind of like how they regulate alcohol. Retailers who violate the age restriction could lose their license to sell the products at all. It seems like everyone in this building pretty much agrees that something needs to be done about this issue. Even Governor Stein and Attorney General Jeff Jackson are calling for some type of regulation on intoxicating THC products, but nobody's really in agreement yet about the best way to go about it. The House has a similar bill that's less restrictive. Laura Leslie, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
2 teenagers are recovering after a shooting off Fayetteville Road in Durham. This happened just after midnight. The WRAL breaking news tracker was there while officers investigated. Police say a 17-year-old boy was shot in the leg. He was taken to the local hospital and is expected to survive. About 20 minutes after that, a 17-year-old girl was taken to the hospital. She was grazed by a bullet. WRAL is working to find out more about how that shooting happened.
Nice to have some dry weather, beautiful clouds out there. A few storms may pop up this afternoon, but an approaching front will bring a better chance for storms on Thursday. That's when severe storms are possible.
And meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center right now with a look at why Thursday is that WRAL Weather Alert Day.
It is our next weather maker, a strong cold front that will arrive on Thursday. It's going to bring us the potential for wind damage and heavy rain, and we'll be watching for any other threats, but that looks like the main thing right now. You can see it's a level 2 risk for severe storms, and that does cover almost the entire viewing area. A couple of our southern counties are in that level 1. The difference between level 1 and level 2 is level 2 means scattered severe storms are possible. They're still typically fairly short-lived and not widespread, but we could definitely see some isolated wind damage reports, possibly some hail, definitely some heavy rain. We're going to continue with this very moist air mass that we have in place right now. The timeline for that, late afternoon, late evening, just a little bit of local damage, maybe a couple of power outages, flooding is possible. And again, this does impact almost our entire viewing area. For Thursday, it is a WRAL weather alert day, and we'll walk you through Futurecast and take a look at the timeline for those storms coming up. Also, heat is a big issue for us starting today going forward. We're looking at the hottest temperatures so far this year, and I'll show you the heat index to go along with them.
Elizabeth, thanks. Now, we did see storms that occurred during the early morning hours when most of you were sleeping, and that left behind some damage in Orange County. The WRAL Storm Tracker was there on scene after a tree fell onto a mobile home. This is on Mary Catherine Lane in Chapel Hill. You can see how that tree left severe damage to the back of the home. The homeowner says no one was inside when the tree fell overnight. She tells us this was her childhood home.
Definitely a little sentimental, but I'm just glad like no one was in there, so nobody got hurt. Like at the end of the day, like it's just materialistic stuff, so it's like whatever. Like I was more worried about like my sibling being home or something.
Our meteorologist team says Wilson saw some of the worst of the weather. We're looking at video of flooded streets yesterday. They say Wilson County had reports of 4 to 7 inches of rain in the past 3 days.
A car fire on Capitol Boulevard near downtown Raleigh shut down traffic for more than an hour. A viewer sent us this picture right here. Big flames coming off of that car. This happened on southbound Capitol Boulevard near the Peace Street exit. This is video of the aftermath from that scene. We are working to find out if anyone was hurt.
Senate Republicans are asking for larger Medicaid cuts in the president's spending bill. The new revisions also include new work requirements for parents of teens to receive the benefits. Republican lawmakers say the added cuts are needed to offset costs of proposed tax breaks in the bill. The package would restore a tax break from the 2017 measure that allowed businesses to fully write off the cost of equipment in the first year it was purchased. Senate leaders are pushing to vote on the bill with the new revisions by a July 4th deadline set by the president.
North Carolina will get $150 million from the Purdue Pharma settlement. A $7.4 billion settlement covers all 50 states, Washington, D.C., and 4 U.S. territories. The payment is intended to resolve thousands of lawsuits alleging OxyContin created and fueled a nationwide opioid addiction crisis. The Purdue Pharma settlement, in principle, is the nation's largest settlement with individuals responsible for the opioid crisis.
And it's happening right now in the WRAL Life Center. The NAACP has filed intent to sue one of Elon Musk's companies. They want to sue his artificial intelligence company called XAI over air pollution concerns from Memphis subcomputers. They're near predominantly black communities, and the data center, which is this here on your screen, began operating gas turbines last year, emitting air pollution. Musk's company said that the turbines will be equipped with technology to reduce emissions, but the Southern Environmental Law Center says these gas-powered turbines emit smog and carbon dioxide.
Michelle, thanks. Investors are closely monitoring the developments out of the Middle East. And so far, not a whole lot of movement on the stock markets. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down about 50 points. S&P 500 also in the red, down a dozen points. And NASDAQ down 40 points at this hour. $16 million in revenue. Not bad for one weekend. That's how much the first two rounds of the 2025 NCAA Men's Basketball Championship brought in direct economic impact for Raleigh. For the Raleigh area, I should say. 3 sold-out sessions drew nearly 58,000 fans here. Raleigh will host the NCAA Men's Basketball East Regional in 2028.
Next at noon, stunning new information coming out of the politicians assassinated in Minnesota. How many other homes were visited by the alleged killer?
Also left out at the Louvre, why tourists could not get inside the popular museum in Paris.
Plus, civilian traffic investigators. Durham rolls out a new program proven successful in other areas.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, lawyers for R. Kelly say the singer overdosed last week on medication that the prison staff gave him in prison. His legal team claims that after being placed in solitary confinement, they provided him with an overdose quantity of medication on June 12th. In the early morning hours of June 13th, Kelly woke up feeling faint and dizzy. Prison medical staff could not help him, so he was transported to Duke University Hospital by ambulance. According to the filing, he was forcibly removed from Duke against medical advice. He is serving his sentence in the Federal Correction Institute facility in Butner, North Carolina.
Michelle, thanks for that update. Stunning new details about a political assassination and targeted attack on state lawmakers in Minnesota.
New court documents describe how Vance Belter actually went to the homes of 4 Democratic lawmakers Saturday morning. NBC's Maggie Vespa shares those details as the children of Melissa and Mark Hortman break their silence.
His crimes are the stuff of nightmares.
Prosecutors laying out in chilling detail Vance Belter's alleged plot to stalk and kill dozens of lawmakers in Minnesota. Belter in court Monday facing a list of federal charges for carrying out 2 attacks, including 2 counts of murder for fatally shooting State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark Saturday.
Belter stalked his victims like prey. This was a political assassination.
In court documents, photos of investigators say Belter's SUV, 5 firearms, including assault-style rifles, tactical body armor, a silicone mask, and multiple notebooks filled with names and addresses of more than 45 elected officials, all Democrats. Prosecutors say his planned rampage began at Senator John Hoffman's house.
When Senator Hoffman attempted to push Belter out and stop him from entering his home, Belter shot him repeatedly. Belter then shot Miss Hoffman.
Officials say their daughter called 911. Both remain hospitalized. Investigators say Belter then went to 2 other targets' homes. One lawmaker wasn't there. At another, an officer arrived, scaring him off. Around 3:30 a.m., they say he arrived at Hortman's home, opening fire on the former speaker and her husband as police arrived, then running. Texting his family, according to court documents, Dad went to war last night.
And I drove right by him.
Almost 48 hours later, Wendy Thomas believes she saw Belter hiding in this field and alerted police.
And then he ducked down, and I was shaking, freaking out.
You saw him duck down?
I did, yeah.
Law enforcement arresting him late Sunday. Now, as Minnesota struggles to heal, this morning the children of Melissa and Mark Hortman speaking out. Sophie and Colin writing, "We are devastated and heartbroken," thanking law enforcement for their heroic attempts to rescue our mom and dad, adding, "Our parents lived their lives with immense dedication to their fellow humans. This tragedy must become a moment for us to come together."
That was Maggie Vespa reporting. It is customary for presidents to call state leaders to express sympathy and offer support after deadly shootings and other calamities. But President Trump expressed no intention of calling the governor of Minnesota.
Minnesota, there were a lot of horrific details that came out today about the suspect who's been charged there. Have you called the governor yet or been able to speak to any of them?
I don't really call him. He appointed this guy to a position. I think the governor of Minnesota is so whacked out. I'm not calling him. Why would I call him? I could call him and say, "Hi, how you doing?" The guy doesn't have a clue.
The president made those comments to reporters during his flight back to Washington. He made an early exit from the Group of Seven summit in Canada.
It's been 10 years since the racially motivated mass shooting at a historically black church in Charleston, South Carolina. A gunman killed 9 black people while attending a Bible study at Mother Emanuel AME Church. The city of Charleston has been holding events throughout this month to examine how the racial climate has changed. Today, a special service will be held at the church to honor the memory of the victims. The man who stabbed 2 security officers at the Manhattan courthouse is being evaluated at a mental hospital in New York. This happened while the officers were screening people to enter the building. One court officer was slashed in the face, the other was slashed in the neck. Both are expected to recover. The suspect is considered an emotionally disturbed individual, has 18 prior arrests, along with a history of concerning behavior at the courthouse.
Visitors hoping to catch a glimpse of the Mona Lisa were left outside the Louvre for a second day. Museum staff say they can no longer tolerate working conditions, so they decided to strike. Complaints included water leaks, poor air conditioning, and excessive visitors. French President Emmanuel Macron announced a 10-year plan to address the museum's issues. Locals also complain that the city is now set up to cater to tourists instead of the residents.
12:16, time right now. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say 20 years ago, went to Paris. I did not get to go to the museum because workers were striking.
Oh, no.
Back then.
Same.
Yeah. Similar
Wow.
reasons.
Wow.
Imagine, yeah.
Over tourism, yeah. All right, Elizabeth Gardner over in the WRAL Severe Weather Center right now with a look outside. Can you paint us a nice picture here?
I can. I mean, especially if you like it hot, you know, some like it hot. We're looking at strong flow coming out of the south. Lots of humidity. Cold front, or stationary front, I should say, has moved up to the north. And beneath that, this afternoon, we might see a few isolated storms pop up. But it won't be anything like we saw last night where we had a lot of noisy storms that produced a good bit of heavy rain. This is a look at lunchtime. We're seeing partly cloudy skies. We'll see that on through the afternoon. There's 2 o'clock and around 5 o'clock, a couple of isolated cells could pop up around the area, but the newer runs of the models are showing fewer and fewer of those. Been pretty consistently in the Sandhills, so around Southern Pines, maybe Lee and Chatham County up towards, say, Raleigh. That's probably the only spot that we would see any of these isolated storms popping up. This is a live look from North Hills, and you can see partly cloudy skies here, a little blue sky, a lot of big puffy cumulus clouds. 88 degrees already. It's been a very quick warm up, and our dew point's way up at 76. It doesn't usually get much higher than that. I mean, that is a solid, July, August kind of feeling dew point. But I mean, we are to the almost to the end of June. So I guess this is what we get, right? It's 88 in Fayetteville, 86 in Clinton. The actual temperature is on the left, 81 in South Hill, 84 in Rocky Mount, and then the heat index is on the right. So it feels like 99 in Southern Pines, Fayetteville, Raleigh, Durham. It feels like 106 in Clinton and 95 in Goldsboro. So we are already dealing with some intense heat in terms of the heat index. Why is this happening? Well, a lot of times we have what we call the Bermuda high that sits out here in the Atlantic, and sometimes it likes to push toward us. So we have a big area of high pressure sitting over us. High pressure systems have air that is sinking. Sinking air tends to dry out the atmosphere. It compresses and warms. It tends to bring us a fairly dry, really hot and humid air mass. Now, we often have some pop-up cells like we'll see this afternoon, but we typically don't have a lot of cold fronts moving through when we have this high pressure system, this big heat dome sitting over us. 93 in Raleigh, 92 Durham, 94 in Fayetteville. This is a look at next week. We jump into next week and that heat dome. We're going to see that cold front on Thursday, and then the heat dome returns for the weekend. 97 Sunday, 99 Monday and Tuesday, 98 on Wednesday. Definitely the hottest air that we've seen so far this season. We typically average one 100-degree day per year, so it's not that often that we see those. Well, we've got the chance of getting close to 2 of those next week. The average first 100-degree day, July 13th, the earliest, June 7th, the latest, October 3rd. So potentially we have dangerous heat in our forecast, especially Wednesday and Thursday. That heat index will be up around 104, and typically 105, 106 puts us under a heat advisory. We'll let you know if the Weather Service issues that. Main thing to remember is your car. Don't leave your pets, of course, or your kids in the car. After 10 minutes at 90 degrees, it feels like 109. After an hour, it feels like 133 inside your car. All right, earlier we talked about Thursday and our weather alert day. We're going to talk more about how much rain we could see and the timeline for those storms in just a bit.
Elizabeth, thank you. Decommissioned police vehicles. Concerns are being raised about safety after the man accused of assassinating a Minnesota lawmaker and her husband impersonated a law enforcement officer. What rules are in place in North Carolina for police vehicles after they leave the force? That's at 5.
Then at 6, superintendent search concerns. Johnston County Schools is looking for their next leader. Why parents say they're concerned about the search process so far. Plus, still ahead this noon, power struggle. 2 of the nation's top battery brands are locked in a battle for supremacy. Why Duracell is suing Energizer. Plus,
you know, when you throw something away, no one's asking themselves, where's away?
Tackling landfill waste. How scientists hope to break down plastics in the trash.
Salmonella is a leading cause of foodborne illness, but the Department of Agriculture backed off a proposed rule to strengthen safety standards for raw poultry. 5 on your side's Keely Arthur shares how you can prevent food poisoning in your own kitchen.
Each year, more than 1.3 million Americans get sick from salmonella, and chicken and turkey are often to blame. Get this, one study found salmonella in nearly 1/3 of the ground chicken it tested. To address growing concerns, USDA recently proposed a rule aimed at making poultry safer, and it would have classified some salmonella-contaminated poultry as, quote, adulterated, which could have forced recalls and kept unsafe products off store shelves. But now the agency is backing down.
So unfortunately, what this means is the burden shifts to the consumer. The consumer is the one that has to figure out how best to protect their family from foodborne illness. And that's unfair when you consider everything that a consumer has to deal with on a daily basis.
Here's how we can prevent foodborne illness at home. At the market, keep raw meat in a disposable bag and separate it from ready-to-eat foods. At home, thaw meat in the refrigerator, not the counter. Wash your hands and utensils and use separate cutting boards from meat and produce. And most importantly, always cook chicken and turkey at 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Keely Arthur, 5 on your side.
It's a power battle in the battery business. Duracell is suing rival Energizer over what it says are misleading claims about battery life. Duracell alleges an Energizer ad campaign falsely states Energizer Max batteries outlast Duracell Power Boost batteries by 10%. Duracell says that claim is based on one industry standard, but performance is measured by other standards as well. Duracell wants the ads pulled and monetary damages from Energizer.
Harley-Davidson is recalling 82,000 motorcycles over a faulty part that could damage its rear tire. The recall involves Softail motorcycles with model year 2018 to 2024. Letters are going out now to owners, or they can check the website to see if their bike is impacted. If your motorcycle is included, take it to an authorized Harley-Davidson dealer to get the problem fixed. Tinder now lets you go on a double date. A new feature allows you to invite a friend to find and match with another pair. You can invite up to 3 friends to create pairs with, scrolling through a feed of paired profiles, which appear side by side with photos and descriptions. A match is created when one person from both pairs swipes right, and then Tinder will open a group chat with everyone.
Tinder just got weirder. Coming up, Durham police are about to get some extra help at crash scenes from a civilian unit. Raleigh police launched a similar unit last year. Chief Patrice Andrews on how the new civilian crash investigators will operate and the benefits to the community.
Also, the link between a healthy diet and sleep. Why plenty of fruits and vegetables will have you waking up feeling refreshed and ready for your day. First, here's a look at the winning lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Welcome back. Anybody recognize this building right here? It is the old DMV headquarters on New Bern Avenue in Raleigh. The property in the historically black neighborhood has an interesting past, serving as the site for a state fair, a hospital, and most recently, The DMV. The building closed its doors to the public in 2020, and since then, people have been waiting to learn its fate. WRAL's Carly Haynes attended today's City Council, where they discussed future plans. Watch for her live reports beginning at 4 here on WRAL. A long-anticipated vision for Eastern Wake County is moving forward. The Wake County Board of Commissioners yesterday approved the design for Lake Myra County Park. So phase 1 will include a park center with offices and classrooms, a picnic shelter and restrooms, boat launch for staff-led activities, and a fishing platform. The park is scheduled to open in the year 2027. Changes are coming to Barwell Road. The city of Raleigh is hosting a public meeting to share project updates and explain what to expect during construction for Barwell Road. The meeting will take place tonight at 7 over at the Barwell Road Community Center.
President Donald Trump cut his attendance short at the G7 summit in Canada, citing the ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, the president said he wants to see a real end to the conflict, not just a ceasefire. NBC's Yamiche Alcindor reports from Calgary.
Well, it's been a striking 24 hours here in Canada, where President Trump announced late last night that he was actually going to be leaving the G7 early and going back to Washington, D.C. He cited the situation that's unfolding in the Middle East. At one point, he also posted online that anyone in Tehran, which of course is the capital of Iran, that they should evacuate. That being said, the president on the plane back to Washington, D.C. actually said that there was no imminent threat to Iran, and in fact that he just wanted to make sure that they did not get a nuclear weapon, which is something that he's been saying over and over again for weeks now. It's also clear that the U.S. is going to continue to support Israel in its ability to defend itself with missiles that are coming from Iran. But right now, there is no indication that U.S. personnel or U.S. military will actually be involved in the conflict. There's a lot of worry, though, that this could spiral out of control. That being said, the president, while he was at the G7, did sign a new trade deal with the United Kingdom. The president also said that he's leaving behind the Treasury Secretary to deal with other trade deals that could come out of the G7. And he said that he's been negotiating with about 175 countries and that he hopes to roll out more trade deals. So it's an interesting development here, but also one where the president is now back in Washington, D.C., dealing with a number of issues. Back to you.
Yamiche Alcindor reporting there. And President Trump will not be invited to the annual NAACP National Convention in Charlotte next month. The organization says it's the first time the organization has not invited a sitting president. The president of the NAACP says it has nothing to do with political party. Instead, they accuse Trump of trying to eliminate civil rights. The White House responded by accusing the organization of pushing hate and division. The organization filed several lawsuits against the Trump administration. The convention is scheduled to start July 12th.
And back here in the WRAL Live Center, we have just learned that a Wake County Public School System employee has been charged with misdemeanor child abuse. This here is Betsy Maddox. On May 19th, deputies say they received a report from Wake County Public Schools regarding an alleged assault against a student by a staff member at Smith Elementary School. Maddox was charged with misdemeanor child abuse after an investigation. She was arrested today. She was sent to the Wake County Detention Center. They say this is an ongoing investigation.
Michelle, thanks. A Texas startup may have a way to solve the global plastic crisis. Hero Technologies' microdigestible diapers comes with a packet of fungi to be added to the dirty diaper before it is thrown in the trash. So after a week or two, the fungi is activated by moisture and begins breaking down the plastic, which then decomposes into soil. So why begin with diapers?
Most babies go through up to 6,000 diapers in their lifetime, and every diaper takes 400 to 500 years to break down. The number of diapers that end up in a landfill every year can circle the earth 33 times per year.
Wow, it really is mind-boggling to think about how many diapers babies go through, right? The company plans to do more research to find out how the product will decompose in different climates. It also plans to experiment on adult diapers, feminine care products, and other items.
Kraft Heinz says it'll be phasing out artificial chemical dyes by 2027. The shift would affect brands like Kool-Aid, Jell-O, Crystal Light, and other beverages and desserts that contain dyes like red number 40 and blue number 1. Kraft says it'll replace the dyes with naturally sourced coloring ingredients like turmeric and paprika. Getting your daily dose of fruits and vegetables could help you get a good night's rest. The study measured sleep fragmentation, or how often someone wakes up or shifts into lighter sleep mode. Results showed those who ate more produce and healthy carbohydrates had a better quality of sleep at night. Researchers say eating 5 cups of fruits and vegetables a day could improve sleep quality by 16% compared to eating none.
Talk about a major goal. What made this particular soccer lesson record-breaking?
And remember, you can watch WRAL News live anytime on WRAL.com or the WRAL app on your streaming device.
Raleigh has one. Now so does Durham. We're talking about a civilian traffic investigations unit.
Yeah, interesting stuff here. These are everyday people who go out and visit crash sites and take information. So that frees up police officers to tend to more severe crimes. WRAL's Sean Gallagher is live in the Bull City. Just got done speaking with Durham's police chief. Sean.
Yeah, that's right. And all of this is really to make those sworn personnel a lot more efficient. So instead of a police vehicle showing up to these fender benders, you'll start seeing vehicles like these, which inside will have those civilian investigators behind the wheel. All of this because Durham police respond to thousands of vehicle crash calls per year. Those crashes can take them off the street for hundreds, if not thousands of hours every single year, preventing them from patrolling the streets to crack down on crime elsewhere. The civilian traffic investigators could open up time for those officers to do that. They're hoping to have 6 full-time investigators on staff handling those non-criminal crashes like fender benders, something that does take up to 9,000 hours a year away from officers on the streets. It's time Chief Patrice Andrews feels could be better spent elsewhere.
But, really it allows our officers to be able to focus on, other higher priority calls. And they'll have to take crashes here and there because as soon as there's an injury reported, obviously an officer will have to respond to that.
And right now you are looking at the first member of this unit, a civilian who just started kind of a soft launch within the last couple of weeks. But in the next, by early August, they hope to have 2 more fully staffed positions. And then by early spring, they hope to be fully staffed with those 6 folks operating on the streets of Durham. At the Durham Police Department, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
Sean, thanks for that. This crash might be a little bit different. Raleigh police are investigating a crash involving a Wake County school bus. No one got hurt and there were no kids involved. The crash, though, shut down part of the intersection at Capitol Boulevard and Mayflower Drive for about an hour. An employee with the school district told the WRAL Breaking News Tracker the crash caused damage to the battery. No words on charges.
Some people tend to feel a little down after a fun-filled summer vacation. Still to come, a little advice on how to beat the post-vacation blues.
And speaking of getting away, some motel guests were trying to do just that after spotting this alligator outside their motel. Ooh. What happened next when our news at noon continues? A lovely Tuesday portrait for you right here as you look live at the sky from our studio tower up there to it, and watching WRAL News available on Spectrum and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. Looks so refreshing, but it's hot out.
It's that time of year when many people are packing their bags for that long-awaited vacation. But when that trip ends, returning to reality can be tough. Mandy Gaither has some advice to help you beat the post-vacation blues.
Taking a break can be relaxing and rejuvenating, but the end of vacation can bring on the blues.
We might be having a great time and then we come back to reality and then, we're back to the grind.
Psychologist Rachel Gableman with the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center says there can be a sadness as you return to a regular routine. You may be faced with loads of laundry or stacks of work and feel like there's no longer a trip to look forward to.
It can just feel like, oh, why did I bother maybe taking that vacation? at all.
But Gableman says taking time off is good for our well-being, and you can beat the post-vacation blues by setting yourself up for success before you leave. Clean your house, stock your freezer and pantry so you don't have to clean and shop for groceries as soon as you return from vacation. When planning your trip, set aside a day when you get back so that you can reset before returning to work. And while you're on that trip, live in the moment. Let yourself enjoy the time you do have off instead of thinking about having to go back home. Finally, when you do go back home, she says start planning your next vacation, even if it's just a staycation or weekend getaway.
We, as humans, really like to look forward to things. It is something that, might reduce our stress and help us to keep going.
100% plan that next trip. It's also good to set realistic expectations for how you'll feel when you return. If you missed your time away, look, that means you really enjoyed your time off.
Summer storms and popcorn have a lot in common. More random thoughts from meteorologist Chris Michaels as he butters us up to the idea and shows us what's popping in today's Ask the Meteorologist.
Yeah, it may seem random, but thunderstorms and popcorn kernels are basically the same thing, just on different scales. So if you were to look at a popcorn kernel, it's got water droplets inside of it that when you heat it up, that water vapor expands and it breaks through the shell, making your tasty treat. Well, if you were to take a summer day, you have a number of these droplets that are around, and then you heat them up, they start to rise. That expands and forms a cloud, but that rising motion continues until the cloud reaches its fullest potential, and it then becomes a thunderstorm. So they're exactly the same, and it's also why forecasting these storms and their location is sometimes impossible on summer days, because if you were to go through a bag of popcorn kernels, you probably couldn't predict exactly which one was going to pop. So there's some days where the location of storms in the summer is random. Other days we have fronts nearby that actually trigger a specific start and end time to these storms, much like what we see on Thursday's WRAL Weather Alert Day. We'll have details on that all day long on the free WRAL Weather app.
I will never look at thunderstorms the same way again.
So I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But I know Elizabeth Gardner is salivating right now. It's one of her favorite treats, popcorn. Right?
I want a big heap of butter on my pop-up thunderstorms.
And today's going to be the popcorn type, and then Thursday is going to be the kind that's a little easier to time out with the front coming through. So let's talk about that. So far, we don't have anything popping up, but what's going to happen is we're warming up this very juicy air mass. Lots and lots of moisture in the air. We've seen a lot of sunshine out there. Sunshine's going to heat everything up, and then all of a sudden, sort of like yesterday, we're going to have little storms that begin to pop up across our area. Not a lot of them. We take a look at Futurecast. It looks like the best chance is going to be down here in the Sandhills. Of all the runs of the computer models that I've seen so far, most of it's been in the Sandhills, or at least in our southern counties. You can see a few of those between around, say, 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock. But most of us won't see any storms today. It's just a very, very small chance. Let's jump ahead and take a look at our next weather maker, which is Thursday. Totally different story. When we see a front like this, it's fairly uniform. We see a line of storms coming through. That's a little bit easier to time out than just guessing where individual little cells might pop up. So Thursday is a WRAL Weather Alert Day. We have the strong front, which could bring some isolated wind damage and certainly some heavy rain. We have so much moisture in the atmosphere. Any storms that get kicked off in the next several days are going to be producing some heavy rain. Thursday at 1 o'clock, we're pretty quiet, but we add a little bit of heating to all that moisture, and we see that front coming through. And then here comes more of a line, much easier to predict. At 4 o'clock, that line is in our northern counties. As we push forward to around 6:30, we're seeing it around Durham, Rocky Mount up toward Roxborough. That front keeps sinking southward. 6:30, it comes through, say, Raleigh towards Southern Pines and Goldsboro. And then by 7:30, 8 o'clock, it's in our southern counties. And that's mostly it. There might be an isolated shower that lingers behind it. As we mentioned earlier in the newscast, it looks like a level 2 risk for severe storms. That level 2 risk means that just a few few scattered severe storms are possible. Maybe a handful of those could produce some wind damage. Heavy rain is likely really with all of those. Again, the timeline for this is going to be late afternoon, evening, sometime between maybe 4 and 7 o'clock, depending on where you are. A few isolated reports of wind damage and possible flooding, and it does cover almost the entire viewing area. If you can't get to your television, download the WRAL weather app. It's been redesigned. You can go to radar and you can turn on radar. You can follow along on the radar. You can also set it to let you know when rain and lightning is coming your way, and it'll let you know when there are warnings to your area as well. This afternoon, it's hot and sticky across our area. Again, not a lot of thunderstorms likely to pop up across our region. We're looking at fairly major heat risk on Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then beyond into the weekend. Our heat index this afternoon around 102. We're already at around 99 to 100 in most of the viewing area, feeling like 104 on Wednesday and Thursday. And take a look at our heat risk as we get into the weekend. We have a little bit of major heat risk right through the middle of the viewing area. And then Sunday, widespread major, and then extreme on Monday. We'll get it over to extreme. You can see the middle of the viewing area at extreme risk for heat related injuries on Sunday and Monday.
All right, stay away from long distance running. Elizabeth, thank you. Goal-oriented athletes will take you to a record-breaking soccer lesson that put one city on the map. We wrap things up with a look at a few of the headlines we're following for you today. A Wake County man caught on camera firing shots at police is due in court in about 30 minutes. Gabriel Walker faces numerous charges, including attempted murder. Video shows the moment Rollsville police say Walker fired his gun 3 times. Walker's father says his son has battled with mental illness over the past few years.
A new bill in the state Senate could keep intoxicating hemp products out of the hands of kids. It would ban the sale of consumable THC items to anyone under 21. The bill would also regulate how much of the intoxicating substance, also known as Delta-9, products could contain. Manufacturers would have to test them. Retailers that want to sell them would have to have a state license.
Police are investigating after 2 teenagers were hurt in a shooting in Durham. It happened just after midnight off Fayetteville Road. Police say a 17-year-old boy was shot in the leg. He was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. About 20 minutes later, a 17-year-old girl showed up at the hospital in a private car. She was grazed with a bullet.
Some athletes set a goal and surpassed it. More than 1,000 people dribbled, headed, and sweated along the Seattle's Pier 62 for a 30-minute soccer lesson. Their effort set a new Guinness World Record, beating the previous record of 956 set in San Jose in 2023. In less than a year, when the FIFA Men's World Cup will play 6 matches in Seattle. Good footwork.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
There it is. All right, it's not uncommon that we share an occasional alligator story or so from Florida, but some people in Virginia were caught off guard by a 6-foot reptile outside their motel room. Fairfax County Police responded to a caller who had spotted that reptile right near their room. The owner told the officer they were taking that reptile from New York to North Carolina for a zoo. Officers escorted the gator and its owner off the premises because Virginia prohibits the possession of certain exotic animals not native to the state. No word if the alligator ever made it down here.
Our pet of the day from Red Barn Rescue is a female Jack Russell Terrier mix, the sweetest baby you'll ever meet. This is Bree, about 8 to 10 months old, weighs 24 pounds. She loves everyone she meets, is dog friendly, and great with kids. If you want to meet her, contact redbarnrescue.com today. NBC News Daily is next on WRAL. Your next local news update in 30 minutes.
And you can get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.